still don't support a general ceasefire here. That leaves Hamas in control of Gaza. We are still working with the Israelis to get humanitarian assistance in.
مشان الله يا ناس اطلعوا فينا للمسلمين للاجانب لامريكا لابسها وقفوا الحرب عنا مشان الله احنا تدمرنا وين نروح؟ وين نروح؟ والله جبتونا من الشمال لرفح والحلوه راحوا حقينا.
Two months since the start of the Israel-Hamas war, Gaza is in the grip of a human catastrophe. The city is in ruins. Its resources have dwindled. Over 1.8 million civilians are now displaced. Of the 36 hospitals in Gaza, only 14 are reportedly operating, that too only partially. These visuals are from today, showing the aftermath of an Israeli raid on West Bank's Jenin. The attacks claimed at least 4 lives and caused injuries to many others. A distressing routine now for all the Palestinians is ongoing. Compared to the north of the Israeli-occupied West Bank, the situation in Rafah, located in the southern Gaza Strip, is even more harrowing. These are the visuals of a woman with her daughter holding the body of her 1-month-old baby. She says, while crying, that her baby has become a martyr of the war.
ولد بالحرب أول الحرب أولها يعني له شهر وشوية أيام. حبيبي حبيبي سدد والله عليك يا ضيافة.
يعني حج في أول الحرب واستشهد في الحرب؟
ومات بالحرب هي استشهد. ومرض لسه مجروح جديد لسه في الغرز لسه فكها قريب. لسه ولد جديد ملاش ما انا بحنطش.
From the World Food Programme to the World Health Organization, the rising intensity of the war has made all international agencies warn of a human catastrophe in Gaza.
There is a high risk of the total collapse of the humanitarian support system in Gaza, which would have devastating consequences.
Amidst the war, the United Nations General Assembly is due to vote later today on a non-binding resolution demanding an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. But can the resolution be used to stop the war in Gaza? UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres could potentially be empowered to convene an emergency session of the General Assembly within 24 hours. If there is a call by at least one member of the Security Council or a group of General Assembly members, member states could then make recommendations for collective action that could mean resorting to more extreme options, including military action. But all resolutions and decisions of the General Assembly are just that, recommendations. This means that unlike some Security Council decisions, these resolutions are not legally binding. Regardless, there has been growing discussion for the United Nations to use this power. It gathered pace after Guterres decided last week to invoke Article 99 of the United Nations Charter to formally warn the Security Council that Israel's war on Gaza is now a global threat. Speaking at the Doha Forum on Sunday, the UN chief said he will not give up appealing for a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza despite the prospects of a veto.
Security Council to press to avert the humanitarian catastrophe, and I reiterated my appeal for a humanitarian ceasefire to be declared. Regrettably, the Security Council failed to do it, but that does not make it less necessary. So, I can promise I will not give up.
So even though Hamas has threatened that not a single hostage will be allowed to leave Gaza alive unless its demands for a prisoner exchange are met, the big question still lies: will a United Nations mediation succeed in easing the war operations by Israel? And for more on this, we earlier spoke to Peter Kuznick, who is a professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University, and this is what he had to say.
Biden administration is committed to backing Israel as long as the fighting continues. But Biden is under enormous pressure, including from within his own party, to pressure Netanyahu to ease up with this horrific offensive that's taking place. The kind of images that your viewers are seeing, we see regularly on American television, and it's heart-wrenching. And the American people are not in favor of Biden's unlimited support for Israel right now. In the beginning, after Israel was attacked on October 7th, American sympathies were very much with Israel, but the Israeli leadership under Netanyahu has squandered that. And now the American public wants to see the U.S. pressure Israel to go ahead with a ceasefire. The U.S. rejected that, vetoed it in the United Nations, but the American people are very upset. And we see this especially on the campuses. The polling shows that 70% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 34 are strongly opposed to the Biden administration's policies. He's got very, very slim support, and he's losing support among Black voters. He's losing support among young voters. He's losing support among independents. And so Biden is in a political bind right now as to what he can get away with, even though his support has not wavered. Americans are trying to distance themselves from a lot of what is happening now.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.